All right, good morning and welcome back to the Money Advantage podcast. Today we're talking about estate planning and we're talking about how do you know that you're on the right track with estate planning? What can really happen with this whole conversation around estate planning is that it is something that we know we need to do, and yet it can be the thing that we put on the back burner. And really, the reason for that is that it can seem overwhelming, it can seem complicated, it can seem like one of those things that if you dip your toe into, that it might just become all encompassing and it might be too difficult or too challenging. You might not know how to approach the conversation. You might not know what you're in for. And so it can be something that we kind of hold with a 10-foot pole and we say, well, let's not really touch estate planning. So let's talk about the very starting point of estate planning. And today we're trying something a little bit new because I am coming to you live today. Bruce is not on the podcast as he usually is, and he is actually at the Nelson Nash think tank right now. So he's going to be coming back with some great nuggets from that. But we want to just keep a really tight, compact episode today to help you really be able to get started with that thing that seems really hard. And my goal today is just to get you unstuck in estate planning so that you can move forward. So today's topic, as we're talking about, is estate planning 101, protecting your loved ones. So what exactly is estate planning? Well, estate planning is the process of legally planning to take care of your loved ones and protect your financial assets ahead of time for when you die. Now, nothing is as impending or seeming of doom coming to think about when I die. But that really is what estate planning is all about. And it's not just planning for what happens in your life when you die, but really what happens to your loved ones and to your assets. And the great thing is that you have the power during your life right now while you have the motility, the capability, you have the cognitive ability, you have the energy to be able to put plans in place because you're living right now. You're living out your life and you're seeing what's working for you, and you see those in your life that you love and you want what's best for them. And so you have the power at this time to begin putting plans in place so that when you can no longer do those things, those plans pick up where you've left off. So it is something that today my only goal is to give you something easy and actionable so that you can understand estate planning in the proper context so that you can make progress. You can have a win that's going to move you forward and give you that sense of accomplishment in the area of estate planning that, frankly, no one actually wants to do, but we all know that we should. Now, I want to give you a little disclaimer as we are talking about this topic of estate planning. I am not personally an estate planning attorney. And so I want you to know that ultimately, when you put an estate plan in place, you will need to work with a licensed attorney who's licensed to do business in the state that you live and reside. So this is a preliminary conversation to that. You'll have to actually work with a lawyer or an estate planning attorney. Now, what I do want you to know is that when you work with an attorney, you're going to set up a plan that works best for you in your life with your circumstances, your family, your assets, your financial landscape. But our clients that we work with get access to our estate planning attorneys on our team that really see things in a way that is congruent and integrated with our philosophy around estate planning. So when you work with our team, you do have the ability to work with our attorneys. So I want to just make that distinction. I'm not personally an estate planning attorney, but through our team with the Money Advantage, we do have the capability to connect you with attorneys. So when you're considering estate planning, the number one thing that you need to do so that you can have that progress, you can have that clarity, you can have that first win to be able to move forward is to answer one question. And I'm going to share with you that specific question because it is that powerful to be able to give you the clarity and the perspective that you need to be able to move forward. So here's the question. You would be asking yourself this question. And it's a rating question. We'll talk about the rating in a minute after we read the question. So ask yourself this question. and see how true this is for you. I have a spouse, children, future children, or a family that I care about deeply, and they would be impacted financially if something happened to me tomorrow. I'm going to read that question again because there's several key pieces that I want to pull out of the question. So you're asking yourself, do I have a spouse, children, future children, or family that I care deeply about, and they would be impacted financially if something happened to me tomorrow? So what you're going to do is you're going to look at that question honestly, and you're going to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means this isn't true at all for you. 5 is that it's completely true for you. And the point of this question is really to get an assessment for yourself. You're doing an internal check, a self-diagnostic, if you will. You're getting aware of what your needs and your goals are in terms of estate planning, because you're recognizing that this might be something that you really do need to place attention on. So the key things in this question are that, do you have a spouse? Potentially, if you're in a situation of being married, you might have a situation where they would be financially at a detriment if you were no longer financially providing, or you were no longer working and providing the lifestyle that your spouse is currently enjoying. Or that in the future, if you didn't have your source of income, that you're creating a financial future for yourself and your family. Maybe you're the primary breadwinner and you're the person who's putting money into savings, and you're investing, and you have businesses that you're running, and you have properties that you own. Would that spouse be impacted financially if you were no longer in that position of operating those businesses and properties and those physical assets? Would they be impacted if the source of income that you have from your job or from your business that you own was no longer contributing to their financial future? Now, do you have, that's just a spouse. We're just considering a spouse there. But what about if you have children today? Do you have children who would be impacted in the case of you no longer having that financial contribution into their life? What about future children? And this is a really key part of the question, because if you are in a financial space right now where you are providing for yourself, you're also contributing to the financial situation and stability and security of your family. And that includes future children. You may not even have children yet, but if you're in a position of saying, I want to be providing for children that will be born into my family in the future, you have the capability and the capacity to be able to put plans in place that would help them in the future, even if they're not currently born. So, or you have family. This could even include parents or grandparents that you are loving, that you care deeply about, that you are helping financially to be in a position of being able to care for themselves. So this might be caring for aging parents, or being in a position that in the future you might be caring for aging parents. And if any of these people that are connected to your life in any way would be impacted financially, meaning that they would have a financial loss, they would have financial hardship, they could have worries about money, they would have to go find another source of income or another source of financial contribution to be able to continue on the life that they're living and expecting, and that you're creating with them, then you would be answering yes to this question. And the real key, the reason why this is such a critical question to answer for yourself in the idea and in the space of estate planning, is that this is the momentum that you need to be able to make good decisions. The challenge is that we can jump into something like estate planning and we can say, well, it's something that I'm supposed to do. It's something that's the right thing to do. It's the mature, responsible, grown-up thing to do. And we do it because we're supposed to, or because we're told to do it. And it feels like a chore or a burden or an exercise or something that some external source is putting on to us. But instead, estate planning is something really that comes from an internal motivation to recognize the power that you have right now to make choices that would provide and prepare for a financial future ahead for those that you love. So really you're stepping into this question allows you to step into this space of having two completely separate ideas. And I think of almost the idea of maybe a Venn diagram. You have one space here and you have another space here, and we're looking at the intersection. You're standing in that middle ground right between both ideas. So on one side, we have the idea that there's a family that you love, you want what's best for them, you're dreaming dreams for them, for your kids, for their future, for what they're going to be able to be exposed to and have be able to provide for in their life so that they can have a good life that you're wanting to create for them. You want to nurture their gifts, you want to spend quality time and build treasured memories together with them. You want to build a relationship. And this is that space where you're looking at the deep, deep love that you have for your family. On the other circle that we're going to look at the intersecting point here, that other side is recognizing that your life is not guaranteed. So this is a challenging reality to face. Maybe you are wanting to not have that be something that feels close and personal to you, and you're wanting to kind of how we push that down, those uncomfortable feelings or thoughts or things that we're not feeling quite adjusted to yet, and these ideas that maybe we just don't want to deal with, and this idea of mortality or the fact that we all do come to a point of death at some point. That's not a comfortable feeling to walk around with, and my goal is certainly not to scare or to have you walk in fear of that happening. But maybe you're in a different space altogether, and maybe you have recently experienced the loss of a loved one that makes this reality of the finality or the shortness, the brevity of life be really present for you. This is something that I experienced after a near-death experience. Many of you may know my story, but if you are coming to this podcast and you have not heard before, it was about 5 years ago, nearly 5 years ago, when we delivered our second daughter that I nearly died. And so I had financial, or not financial, but medical complications after delivering her. And that ended up in a situation that I was in emergency surgery, ended up in ICU, had been unconscious for 45 minutes, had a complete blood transfusion of 8 units of blood, which nearly replaced all the blood in my body. And there was not a good prognosis. It was a 50% survival rate. And thankfully and miraculously, I recovered from that. And I'm standing here today as a complete testament just to God's grace and his healing power and his mercy. But what I recognize through that is that my life is not guaranteed that it's going to live, that I'll live for those 120 years that I plan to. I plan to live a full life and to be able to live life to the fullest all the way through a very, very old centenarian age. And I've got a lot of years ahead to do that. But if I'm not given those years, how do I make sure that the days and moments and hours that I have right now are going to count the most? And so when we look at those two spheres, if you will, this one side of, I love my family so much that I totally want what's best for them. I want to do everything possible for them. And then recognizing that you don't have infinite capacity to do that because of the finality of life. And so that intersection point is where you recognize that you can today, with your life and breath and motility and your there's a word I'm looking for, but your ability to make decisions, your agency, that's the word I'm looking for, your agency, your capacity to act today. You have the power to be able to make decisions that will impact that point in time where you can no longer act. And that is that intersection point that this question brings you to. Would your loved ones, do you have loved ones that you care deeply enough about, that you know that you want what's best for them, and you want to provide a situation that would make sure that their financial provision is not limited after you're gone, whenever that date may be, so that you can then, once you have handled that planning really well and you have done the best that you can with that agency that you have right now, now you're in a position of saying that you have provided for them, you can live more fully, you can be more present, you can be in a position of knowing that you've done your best and that they're provided for. So that is the key is that you're living in both realities. That word that you need is protect. That word that word protect means that you have the capability to be able to protect the future when you are no longer here. You can protect the future financially by doing that legally through an estate plan, and then also relationally. So if you would like to dig further into estate planning and the position that will really help you be able to truly leave a legacy for your family of traditions and values and purpose, and really ensure that your children are not just given financial resources and assets, but they're prepared to steward that inheritance. And if you want to protect your assets from things like creditors and taxes or potential lawsuits, so that your financial assets can do the most good for those loved ones and for future generations ahead that are not even born yet, then we have an assessment. It's completely free. You can go to 7generationslegacy.com/quiz. Now, this is a completely free assessment. You don't even need to opt in for it. It is, I believe, 20, I'm not sure how many questions. Yeah, 21 questions. So this is a self-assessment for you to be able to look at your life and your need for estate planning, and really not just your need for estate planning, but how being able to assess your life and see how well prepared you are to pass on that legacy that does the most good for the longest period of time. And when you do this assessment, it will tell you exactly what you need to be able to focus on next so that you can truly have an impactful legacy that lasts. And so go to 7generations.com/quiz, and you can go ahead and grab that download right now. And I hope that with this really quick video today that you are now feeling one step closer to being able to make that progress in your estate planning that you really need so that you can feel amazing about protecting your loved ones, making sure that they have everything that they need in the future, no matter what happens to you, and you can truly leave a legacy that lasts. So in closing, please remember, success leaves clues. So model the successful few, not the crowd, and build a life and business you love. We'll see you next time.